Christians, and today we're here with my squirming kitty co-host Midnight, who wants some treats. Special guest Jerry Della Salla, Iraq War hero. Awesome. We love Jerry and are so excited to have him on the show today. We will be having, as you know, the Refrigerator Magnet Challenge, a special Jerry Della Salla edition, so this is going to be exciting. But first, I have to apologize for my kitty co-host last week. She was caught sleeping on the job. So I brought her little favorite toy, her special Mousie, filled with treats. I'm hoping we can keep her occupied. So sorry about that, folks. Now, Jerry, welcome to Keeping Up with the Christians.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are so thrilled. And Pastor Mize says hi to Jerry. Pastor Mize is in North Carolina. And
Hi, how are you?
great patriot, Pastor Gavin Mize, who's also an author, and he's a scholar like Jerry. Pastor Mize.
I wouldn't call myself a scholar. I took a hardcore class at Biola that earned me a master's certificate, but if he's a scholar, he's probably way ahead of me.
I'd say you're both scholars, yeah.
All right.
Jerry has a master's degree in apologetics, which we'll get to, so I had to make these questions extra tough to stump him. Bunch of brainiacs here. I love it. I say that because I love my hermeneutics classes, so I'm one of you guys. I did. All right, without any further delays, let's get to the Refrigerator Magnet Challenge, a special Jerry Della Salla edition. These questions are awfully tough because we don't want to give away magnets.
I didn't know I was under a magnet challenge.
Yes,
This is great.
You are. If you want to win your magnet, you better ace all these questions.
I just want my t-shirt.
What?
I just want my Keeping Up with the Christians t-shirt.
This is a very special scholar bonus question for the shirt. Now, our first question is a multiple choice question brought to you by my producer, aka my husband. When all else fails, I A, watch CNN News, B, make a financial donation to the Elizabeth Warren presidential campaign, or C, cling to my guns and religion.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Jerry, what do you do when all else fails?
Inevitably C.
Good answer!
Okay.
Yes, we cling to our guns and our God, of course.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Jerry, something huge happened on May 7th of this year. You turned 50.
I did.
What's it like being old?
Geez, let's see. The hairline goes even further. The workouts get harder.
Well,
and yeah, it's great. It's half a century, I can say, I lived. That's a blessing. We had a great birthday party for me. My wife put it together, and I'm very fortunate. I had some good, close friends and a lot of cake. So it was a great time. Way to celebrate it,
what kind of cake, I have to ask?
Oh, we had two. Because some like chocolate, and I like a regular vanilla cake. So we had two, and it was a nice. It was a lot of candles. You know what I mean?
Well, and you know what, Jerry, I have to interrupt you. I was just handed this note by the producer who said, you turned 50 last May. So that's a joke because Jerry's only 12 days older than me.
Only 12. Only
12 days, yeah. My birthday's May 19th. So when I saw you turn 50 a few days before I did, I thought, there's got to be a joke in there.
And it's funny you bring that up. It's interesting. You start to realize how dated you are.
Yeah.
When you start to bring things up in conversation, and most of the people you talk to about them have no clue what you're talking about. 70s music or movies or little things you did as a kid, and people are like, it goes like this because they're just so not in that generation anymore, and you take that for granted, I can tell you.
Well, and that's why you mentioned a certain puppet that you were going to show us? I won't name names, but if you have it, we'd love to see your little puppet.
I'll have my wife get on it. So this is what we got our daughter recently, Lamb Chop.
Oh.
Speaking of being dated, there was a show in the '70s, and that kind of propelled her to be the star puppet that she is, or stuffed animal. And I was happy to see my wife bought this for my daughter because it's going to teach her about the old days.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
Hey, that's all we watch are the old shows, the Flintstones, Hogan's Heroes, Gomer Pyle. We love all those old shows.
You know, AFI voted the '70s was the greatest decade for not just films and, you know, epic movies, but television. You know, it was really the decade that kind of thrusted these amazing shows that all of them were like, you know, 6 or 7 years of success. You know, I mean, if you get a show today that goes maybe 3 seasons, you're lucky.
Which do you think is your favorite or best show, in your opinion?
From the '70s?
Or any show, yeah.
You know, it's hard. I've got colleagues that I've worked with in the industry that are, they've been a part of, or they are cast members, stars of some of the biggest shows. I grew up on The Honeymooners, you know. I remember fondly of watching Barney Miller with my parents. But some of the artists I've worked with, some of the actors, you know, like Peter Dinklage, who, you know, starred in Game of Thrones, or another friend of mine who I work with, Michael Irby, he's on that Mayans show, and he used to be on The Unit. You know, these are big shows today that I've always liked, you know. Some are a little graphic for my taste, and I had to kind of stop watching them, but they're still successful shows. So I got to kind of go back, you know, I got to go back to the '70s when, you know, there was a little bit more moderacy, if you will, in television productions, you know. You know, today, sadly, for the most part, a lot of the shows, about 90% of them, you know, are sadly secular or liberally minded, and they have those kinds of principles in them, and it makes it hard for some very good, fruitful entertainment, you know.
Being a Christian in Hollywood, what's it like personally? How do people treat you? Do they know you're a Christian? Is there antagonism toward you, or is it just on an individual basis?
You know, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, and you know, I'm not the kind of actor or artist who's gone to set or, you know, gone into a theater production. You know, I don't come with the drum, try to be loud and proud, if you will. I am, but I try to come in with a sense of almost like a tactician or a commander. You know, survey the area first. You know, see who is of that nature, and you can expect it always will be in the industry, especially in Hollywood. You know, where it's a double standard. You know, if you're a politically left-minded individual, you can be as out and loud as you want to be. You're not going to really be held up for it. But if you're a conservative, you got to be smart, which is not to say ashamed, which is not to say fearful. You got to be, as Jesus says, as smart as a serpent, and that's what I try to be, and as gentle as a lamb. But you know, I've had encounters where I've, you know, after surveying, if you will, or the first couple of days on set, you know, I try to, when time permits, if at all, I try to have my moments of meditation or prayer on set, and it's been challenged. You know, it's been you know, it's been approached, and that's when you got to stand your ground. You know, and you got to trust in the Lord. He's behind you, you know, and whatever you know, can expect would come your way, he's going to dispel it, you know, and I think, you know, being a Christian in the industry has immense levels of or obstacle of conflict. And that's unfortunate, but it's where we're at now, certainly in the entertainment industry. And what I'm appreciative of is that God has obviously in the last 10 to 15 years called up this movement where faith-based films are finding a niche and a genre unlike ever before. And I would just always say as a Christian actor to another, utilize that opportunity for employment, but also understand that I firmly believe it's not our calling with these gifts to remove ourselves from the industry completely or the world in general, in secular Hollywood. You got to get in and mix it up. You got to try and get the word in there, because ultimately then we're just hiding, in my opinion. And I don't think that's what we were called out from the world to do.
And I agree. I was just going to ask you that because so many Christians, here in the Midwest where we are, there's so much anger and hatred toward Hollywood, and it's just they're overwhelmed by the anger and hatred and emotion rather than seeing how we can influence and play the long game. And as a tactician, a strategist, expert marksman, what would you say to these people?
Well, I would say this: your hate, and I know that this is scriptural, should be for the sin of Hollywood and not the sinners. And that being said, also, you can hate all you want. That's your prerogative. But I would think if we were to really analyze the word, the Lord would want us to be more proactive with that hate, to take that energy and say, look, what I really hate here is the way the industry has gone, and I want to change it. If you will, faith-based content, works its way back into the secular fray. I mean, you can't just stay on the sidelines, And again, I say this not just to the artists of the community of, Michigan or New York or Los Angeles or even everything in between. You got a big following in the Midwest. There's a big artist community of the Midwest. They're maybe not as big as LA, New York, but they're there and they're valuable and they're valid. I honestly believe where we're at today, as far as kind of pining over why there's such horrible content, on the major networks of television today, or film or cable, is because I think in a lot of ways, sadly, and this might sound critical, I don't mean it to be, but I just really honestly believe in the last 30 to 40 years, conservative, actors, artists, filmmakers, they fell asleep at the wheel. You could say the same thing for, if you're going to move into, why did the public school systems all get pretty much taken over? It's abundantly clear that, politicians, state, local, and district politicians fell asleep at the wheel. They didn't fight for the things that make us, a nation under God. They fought for what would make us a nation outside of God. And they compromised, whatever. The same is for Hollywood. So I'm glad to see that there's a spike now, where that kind of resurgence, or this new movement, if you will, as I called it before. We can't just go hide in our own community and preach to the choir. But I honestly believe it's going to take an invasion, if you will, or a sort of missionary's mindset, that the real seed dropping is going to be not just by publicizing our work and showing it, but you got to get actors that are booked in secular shows. Now that's hard to find because, again, you don't want to sacrifice your principles at the same time. I've read many a story, and they were correct to do this, where Christian artists, they just, they couldn't work it out with production, and they had to back out of a show that they booked. And the reason being, the show was asking them to do something that, was going against their religion. And they were absolutely correct to do that. But, America's a gift. She's a gift from God, and that doesn't mean He can't take it back, because He can.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we choose to do with it, and how much we choose not to compromise. That's going to dictate whether or not America sticks around. At least the America we know of and believe in. The America that was what our forefathers started it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, people, as I said, are so antagonistic toward Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah.
hate-filled. And yeah, we don't want to condone sin. But like, for example, Phil Cook, his newest book, he says, no one ever became a Christian because you hated them. And if Jesus said, they'll know you're my disciples by your love,
Great
a
point.
lot of Christians think, oh, love is this emotional thing, and no, it's practically looking at these people and saying, I'm going to pray for you despite what you're doing. I'm going to serve you despite what you're doing and your sin, and I'm going to try to influence you. What are your thoughts on that, influencing these people?
No, that's a great point and a great example. You have the ultimate calling, not just as a Christian artist, but as a Christian, period. Because we know the truth, and it's not something we're to keep for ourselves. It's pointless and counterproductive to think that, I'm just tired of the fight, boo-hoo, I want to take a break. This is what politicians that so-called call themselves conservatives in Washington do. And this is where I was saying they fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
They fall suit or in step with their Democratic colleagues and submit to policies that they know are not godly. But they do it just so they can have a peaceful life as a professional in Washington. The same has happened, I have no doubt, with Christian artists. And because I believe so wholeheartedly that, again, you have a special calling, the ultimate calling, to, in your own way, serve in the industry in order to hopefully influence it away from its present sinful state. What you choose to do with that is up to you. And again, you can hate and divide yourself, or you can get yourself, in your hands dirty and mix it up. I used to be an amateur boxer when I was a kid, and one of the most fortunate things was I had a great trainer. And I did it for 2-3 years before my mom put an end to it, because I kept coming home with a bloody nose and whatnot and a swollen eye. But before she did, I competed enough for a couple of years that my trainer, who is now a Hall of Fame boxing member, always had me in with kids that were like 10, 20 pounds heavier than me. And so what he was doing was he was training me up, so that when I came into the ring with my own weight class, I was that much stronger. And that's how you got to live the same thing as an artist. You gotta mix it up with those that are quote unquote, the heavies, and to have that mindset will make you a stronger Christian and a stronger Christian artist, I think. If you go after the big jobs, if you go looking, we all do, but, the way I can correlate it to my own life is working with Matt Damon. And, it really doesn't get any bigger than that. And, he's an Oscar winner, but, that was such a blessed opportunity, and that's kind of the mindset I'm talking about. Just try to train up for yourself, so that when that opportunity hopefully comes for you someday, you're ready as a believer. You're ready as a person that's pursued the word, so that you're knowledgeable to it, and you don't speak out of turn as best you can. But you're also looking to do it. You're not looking to just hate from the sideline. You're looking to actually mix it up, so that the division line is not so, deep into the ground. You kind of step over that,
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Luther King went on countless, nonviolent, peaceful protests, which was well within his rights as a citizen. Yeah. But he went every time knowing that regardless of him exercising his constitutional right, he was going to get beat because of, unfortunately, the time period and the abuse that was, rampant. And I love law enforcement. I have family and whatnot, but in those areas of the country at that time, it was not dealt with so fairly, and yet he went. He continued to go because he knew to retreat would mean to lose, and everybody he led with him. And today, because of his efforts and those like him, I believe, though it came with a lot of unfortunate violence, we have a better country in regards to race relations. You're not going to hear that from CNN, but that is the truth.
Yeah. Well, I have an easy question for you, or to lighten things up. You have to pick a number. You can't see them because the screen is small, but I'm going to read two numbers to you.
Okay.
90210 or 07936.
Let's do 07936.
07936. Certain place in New Jersey.
Yep.
Can you tell our viewers what that is?
East Hanover, New Jersey. Just outside of historic Morristown, where George Washington crossed through to get to his ship, which led him up the Delaware at that very infantile state of our country. I grew up in East Hanover, and I think we're even going to try and go back this year for Christmas. So, yes, you're talking about that zip code being where I grew up as a young kid in New Jersey.
And you don't have a Jersey accent. I was surprised.
I'm glad you said that. Many say that, and it comes with a lot of hard work. Because, if I wanted to, I could talk like it. It's not hard.
I was hoping you would.
All you got to do, Kristen, is take me down to the beach. Yo.
I love it. I was going to ask you.
I was the original Jersey Shore. I hope you understand this. Way
Well,
before those knuckleheads ever came into play.
I love that. That's authentic. I was going to ask you what's better, the Jersey Shore or Malibu Beach, but
the true craftsman that I am, I can turn it on any moment. Just let me know.
I love it. Okay, Jerry, this one might be a bit harder. This is for the t-shirt. You want to win a Keeping Up with the Christians t-shirt.
Make a sign of the cross. Here we go.
Okay. Since you have a master's in apologetics, which famous ordained minister said the following, quote, "Prayer is the hardest work there is. Prayer is also harder than preaching because God speaks through you when you preach." Do you think it is 1, George Foreman, Mr. T, 3, Mr. Rogers, 4, President James A. Garfield, or 5, Martin Luther?
And you said minister, right?
Yep.
Let me take a guess. Martin Luther?
Yes! You won the Keeping Up with the Christians t-shirt!
Lamb Chop says, hooray.
All right, Lamb Chop, you get the prize. Not only do you get a refrigerator magnet, you get a Keeping Up with the Christians t-shirt.
Awesome.
And you know what? I hate to say it, I think we better check our kitty co-host. It's not looking good for her.
Awesome.
Now it's time for our shameless plug segment because Christian artists are very shy. So, Jerry, it's true we have a hard time getting them to talk about their projects because they're trying to be humble.
Okay.
Jerry, what's a project you're really excited about?
There's a lot coming coming up here on soon to be Veterans Day. I call it my cable classic. Green Zone is going to be coming up on the Stars Network. It's always a fun-filled adventure to watch me roll out with Goodwill Hunting, as I call him. Matt Damon. Yeah, it's coming up on the end of the month on the 29th. Wireless is continuing to go on the Christian Film Fest circuit. I really, really love that little piece, and we're praying and hoping that the festival circuit will somehow garner investors to want to jump aboard as producers and give up some of their love financially so that we can do the sequel. The initial short pilot that we shot and have been circulating now and winning awards on has been so successful. It's such a great, funny piece. I wrote the story to it, not the script. That was Thor Ramsey. But I also star in it along with Josh Murray. And it's just a great little funny vessel for the Lord. And we poke fun at mobsters. So we're praying on Wireless. Again, Green Zone's coming up.
So Jerry, could you just take us for a walk and show us some of your awards?
Sure, absolutely. Here we go. Hang on one sec.
Okay. Oh, wow.
This is a coin. It's got Saddam's face on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a coin that was retrieved at Camp Liberty. This is my last unit. It's called the 78th Training Division.
Wow.
They gave me this slate. It's a film slate when I released Green Zone.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it says Sergeant Jerry Della Salla, combat veteran and now Hollywood actor, from citizen soldier due to September 11th attacks, now sergeant in movie Green Zone. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
We want to say hi again?
Hi. Hi. Look at the kitty. See the kitty? This is Midnight.
Hey, hi, Midnight.
Midnight, look. Midnight, look. There's Jerry and his daughter.
She's a little shy. She's a little shy, but when she gets going, boy, she's a ham.
Oh, Midnight, look. Midnight, you see Jerry and his daughter?
Hi, Midnight. Hi,
Midnight. Oh, she's looking. She's looking.
Yeah.
Aww.
I don't think she turned them off on you. She's right there. Well, it's great to be with you guys and have to be a part of this great show. I'm going to pray, for a great blessing of success. And I love the title, Keeping Up with the Christians. It's interesting. I heard that somewhere. Wasn't it Keeping Up with the Kardashians? Right.
Well, and you know what? The world should want to keep up with.
The spin.
Well,
I like the spin.
Yeah, the world should want to keep up with us because we have everything. Jesus.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Jerry, I don't want to take any more of your time, so I'm going to just take us out of here in a quick prayer and thank you to you and your beautiful family. Dear Jesus, thank you for this awesome time with Jerry and his family. Thank you for Jerry's service. Please bless the Della Salla family. Give them massive new opportunities to serve you and be a light in the world, Jesus. Bless them tremendously this day and protect them and send them out into the world in new ways. We know Jerry is a big-time leader, a general in the end times army, and we thank you for this time. Thank you, Jesus. We love you. In your name we ask this. Amen.
Amen. Say amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Okay, God bless.
Like the car, when I move, but the motor do not start, so I gotta pray.